Welcome to Radio Judaica 90.2 FM. Of course, we are also on Spotify and on YouTube because I keep forgetting to say it, so I'm going to say it this time. Shalom Sagit.
Shalom,
how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very good. Very, very good. Long weekend. Had a nice Shabbat in your house. It was very nice.
Yeah, you enjoyed it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was quite fun. It's always nice to be all together and to have some drinks,
Israeli
some food,
feeling.
good vibes.
Voila. So today, our guest is Emmanuel Nahshon, an Israeli diplomat whose career took him to several regions around the world, including serving as Israel's ambassador to Belgium, to the European Union. Long, big, beautiful career. And today, he's leading the team at VERA. VERA is the Association of Israeli University Heads, and they work to combat academic boycotts against Israeli universities. Right? We are correct. Shalom, Mr. Nahshon. Welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So maybe for us and for our listeners, you could start by explaining us what exactly is VERA and what role this organization plays in the Israeli academic ecosystem.
Okay, so VERA is the acronym of, in Hebrew, it's Vaad Rashi HaUniversitaot. It's the Association of University Heads of the Israeli universities. It's a kind of an informal association. Actually, it has no legal status, but it's the meeting place, if you will, of the presidents of the Israeli universities. And this is where they take common decisions on issues which concern all universities. And of course, when it comes to combating academic boycott, as you can imagine, it's not each university dealing with the issue on its own. On the contrary, everybody is working together because it's a common interest, and we use also common tools. As you mentioned, I was asked by this association a couple of years ago by the presidents of the Israeli universities to head a task force responsible for combating academic boycott, and this is what I've been doing now for the last couple of years.
Okay, and why did the Israeli university feel that there was an actual need to create such a task force?
Well, I think that, our world changed drastically after October 7th, 2023. And one of the main aspects of this change concerning universities is really the rise of a boycott movement. And now it existed before, mind you, it's not a new phenomenon. It's a phenomenon which started in the early 2000s. So it's more than 20 years since the BDS movement started targeting universities. But following October 7th, we saw really a dramatic rise in the attempts to boycott Israeli researchers, Israeli professors, and Israeli institutions and universities. And given the severity of the phenomenon, the universities thought, and I think that they were absolutely right, that it's important to get organized, to work together, to build a database, to have a joint strategy. And this is what they asked me to lead.
And what is the real scale of this phenomenon today? Because you said it was before, but how do you see
Yeah,
today?
but now it's much, one of the first things that I did as head of this task force is establish a database. So we have now all the relevant information coming from the different Israeli universities. And the bottom line is that we reached, a few months ago, in November 25, we reached 1,000 cases of academic boycott. Now, academic boycott, it can be from something which is very punctual and tactical, like refusing to invite an Israeli researcher to a conference or refusing to publish an article because it was written by an Israeli researcher, up to the very severe cases such as the boycott of whole universities. And we have indeed now, mostly in Europe, mostly in Western Europe, European universities who have decided to boycott the whole Israeli academic ecosystem. I will not surprise you, by the way, if I mention that a lot of those universities are in the beautiful country of Belgium.
I'm a student at ULB, so I'm aware of all these. It's a complicated country. Yes.
And why would you say that Belgium is more, I would say, extreme about this than other countries?
Well, it's not the only country. You know, you have among the extreme countries, so you have Belgium, you have the Netherlands, Spain, Ireland, and Italy also to a certain extent. But in Belgium, I think that, I think that it reflects something which is much deeper, which is a political climate. It's also the fact that there is a sizable Muslim minority in this country, but it's mostly a kind of a state of mind, each university copying the other. They are all in competition as to who will be the most anti-Israel. On top of it, unfortunately, there is also a basis of anti-Semitism in Belgium coming from the extreme right and from the extreme left. So you have an accumulation of reasons which makes Belgium one of the leading anti-Israel countries now in the world.
You were ambassador here. Do you see a big change from the past, from the time that you were here as an ambassador?
Well, yes and no. I would say that what I see now is the extreme expression of something which existed already before. It's the natural outcome, I would say, of the radicalization, the anti-Israel radicalization of Belgian politics. And this is something which existed already in the past, and I've spoken also to my predecessors, to diplomatic colleagues who were also ambassadors to Belgium before me, and this is exactly their impression too. So it started as something small, but now it has become something very big. And you see, by the way, that it's not only related to Israel. You see the polarization of Belgian politics, the very strong extreme right and extreme left, the incapacity to formulate common policies, the political difficulties, the identity difficulties, etc. And I think that it all reflects this unique situation in which Belgium is, and which unfortunately finds its main expression now in being anti-Semitic and anti-Israel.
Do you have a more individuals that reach out to you, or more institutions? Yeah.
Well, it's both. Actually, we help. So we help all individual researchers. So I receive a lot of contacts. I'm contacted by Israeli professors, Israeli researchers who find themselves boycotted. We have also legal instruments in order to deal with those issues. So we are not devoid of instruments and weapons in order to fight that. So it's individual researchers, but it's also universities. It's a phenomenon, by the way, that we find in the last months, not only in the foreign universities, this attempt of boycotting of Israel, but also in professional associations, like the Association of Psychologists, Association of Psychiatrists, of archaeologists, etc. So it's something which has been promoted by the enemies of Israel, and mostly since October 7th, and we are trying to help as much as possible in all aspects of the phenomenon.
And what about the argument, and it's used in other fields as well, but the argument saying we boycott an institution, but not individuals? What do you think about it? Do you find that the distinction is really worth something, or?
No. This is what this is what the British call a distinction without a difference. It it doesn't make any sense, because what they are telling us, is we will accept you on an individual basis, but you have to renounce, you have to give up on your institutional affiliation. So if I'm invited to a seminar or to publish an article, then my name will be mentioned, but the university that I belong to will not be mentioned. And obviously, it's obvious that it's exactly the same level of boycott. It's hypocritical, because by saying I will mention you as an individual, but I will not say where you come from, you deny actually my intellectual and institutional identity. So it doesn't mean anything. Okay, thank you very much. So they say, no, I will not put a yellow star on you because you are an Israeli. I will put a yellow star on you because you teach at this or that Israeli university. At the end of the day, it boils down exactly to the same ugly discrimination and boycott.
Yeah, because the university often present themselves as spaces of debates and intellectual freedom. How can you explain that they support this kind of academic boycott?
Well, it's a good question, and there is no clear-cut answer. But I think, when you look historically, it is related also to very, very old phenomenons. It's related to the rise of fascism and Nazism 100 years ago. It's related also to fear and hypocrisy, because a lot we receive, individual messages from professors teaching in different universities, including Belgian universities, telling us, on an individual basis, we don't like the policies, but there is nothing much that we can do because we are afraid, we feel alone, and we don't want to be against the mainstream. And the mainstream is anti-Israel. The mainstream, this has become now the new fashion. It is promoted by extremists, by students, by extremist movements, to which some professors also adhere. There is probably external financing of this whole thing. And in Belgium, indeed, I think that it has become a kind of an identity. If Belgians always felt that they don't have much of an identity, they don't know if they are Belgians or Flemish or Walloons or whatever, now they can all declare proudly that they are anti-Israel.
Yeah. But they don't feel that by this boycott, they're also hurting themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, but they are willing to do it. We have had such cases. I'll give you the example. One of the most blatant examples is the University of Ghent. Now, in Ghent, they said, because we told them, look, if you give up on joint projects, because we had many joint projects under a European umbrella, under the umbrella of Horizon Europe and other European projects financed by the EU. If you boycott us, it means that you will not receive the funds which normally you should be receiving from the European Union. And the answer was, we are willing to give up on money, we are willing to suffer as long as we boycott you. And by the way, it brings me to the conclusion that they probably receive money from other sources. Yeah. They probably receive money from Qatar, from Iran, from enemy countries. But at the end of the day, you're right. You are very right when you say that they punish themselves, because, frankly speaking, and don't quote me, and I hope that no one listens to this podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, frankly speaking, we don't need them.
This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to say. So why do we need them?
We are happy you said
it.
Yeah, we don't need them. I think that Israeli universities are quite well off without the University of Ghent and other such universities. We can manage, and everything is okay. The problem is what we fear a little bit, or what we wouldn't like to see, is a kind of a slippery slope, a phenomenon in which it starts with extreme universities and then it becomes something more general. But for the moment, it's not the case. It's limited to extreme universities, and we will survive very well without them.
But do you consider that there are real consequences or concrete consequences to the boycott for the Israeli researchers themselves, or is it just like a collateral damage of the rise of anti-Semitism right now?
Well, there are consequences in the sense that Israel is a small country, and to us, international relations and relations with other universities are extremely important. And I think that it's at the heart of the academic ideology, that having as many contacts as possible with universities around the world. Because that's the way that academics operate. They operate on the basis of freedom of expression and freedom of thought, and it's super important to have as many contacts as possible. And we know for a fact that the BDS movement is attacking the Israeli universities exactly because of that, because they would like to strangle Israel. They would like to make sure that Israel has no contact with the outside world. And for the moment, BDS is totally failing. Israeli universities have extended contacts with colleagues around the world. Now, it's more difficult now, and I cannot hide it. It's more difficult, but it hasn't hurt us in a strategic sense. And I think that this is the important thing. One of the reasons for that, by the way, is the fact that in the United States, everything has changed after the election of Donald Trump. We are not boycotted by American universities, and at the end of the day, they are much more important than certain European universities.
Of course.
So I had the questions, but I will ask her on the other way around. So you don't fear from long-term isolation for Israel?
Well, let me put it that way, because it's really complex. One of the problems that we face here at the Israeli universities is not an external problem, it's an internal problem. It's not a secret that there are frictions and difficulties between the Israeli universities and the Israeli government. And the current Israeli government has been promoting some pieces of legislation which, if adopted, may hurt Israeli academia and may hurt our standing as democratic and tolerant and open universities. So I would argue that we face a double challenge. On the one hand, it's the BDS movement. On the other hand, it's certain initiatives of the Israeli government. And of course, if we have some negative legislation passing here in Israel, it will affect our international standing. And that might hurt us on the long term.
So how do you manage between this and that? It's very delicate.
Well, it is challenging. It is challenging, undoubtedly. And, we have to be extremely cautious. We have to be very smart in the way we operate in order to make sure that we don't lose the international standing of Israel. And I'm opening a parenthesis, by the way. The Israeli universities are among the best universities in the world. We have 3 universities which are among the first 100 universities, and this is super important, and it hasn't changed. But we need to maneuver between a government which is not a friend of the Israeli universities and the BDS movement. Now, of course, it's not only in our hands, but we do as much as we can in order to make sure that we will not get hurt by neither the Israeli government nor the haters of Israel abroad.
And
complicated balance.
It's
Really.
And what kind of steps do you take to navigate this?
Or who are the friends that we can count as, these people actually care also, not only VERA,
Yeah, well, we have many friends actually, and we have many friends around the world, and I think it's important to say it because we are not alone. Okay, even in Belgium, there are friends of Israel also among university professors. I will not say their names because that would only hurt them.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it's not a good idea. We are to give you one example, I think, which is really a good example. We are helped and assisted by the German universities. Germany is undoubtedly the #1 friend of Israel in Europe.
Okay.
And German universities have expressed their support for the Israeli academic world in the clearest possible way, and they oppose BDS and they oppose any form of sanctions or discrimination against Israeli universities. And I think that this is super important. We have in the United States many, many friends, and not only in the Jewish community, there are many friends of Israel all over the place. Now, as you can imagine, most of our work is done very discreetly. So I don't want to go into too much detail, and I will not give you names of friends, but we are not alone. We are certainly not alone, because at the end of the day, and look at it from a larger perspective, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. Okay? It starts with us, and it ends all over the place. This is what happened with the Nazis and the fascists and all the horrible examples that you can think of. And believe me, and I know Belgium well enough. I spent many years in Belgium, not only as ambassador. What starts now as anti-Israel and anti-Semitism, at the end of the day, will destroy this country, because it creates polarization, it creates hatred, it creates enmity, it creates all those negative feelings, which at the end will be destructive for the country itself. And the Jews are the canary in the mine, okay? It starts with anti-Semitism, but it never ends there. It never ends there. And you can see already in Belgium, by the way, you saw phenomena of Islamic terrorism, of attacks by Islamists to take over, etc. So this is going to affect this country dramatically in the years to come.
So I want to go back a little bit, because we speak about institutions and it seems all very large, so maybe it's easier to have an image for us. But are there specific fields that are more impacted by this? If we look at science in general, psychology, all these things, I know I was in Israel a few months ago. We visited the Weizmann Institute. I was mind blown by all the beautiful things. What are the fields really that you see are more impacted?
Okay, well, it started with, and that's not surprising, it started with the humanities. Because it's in humanities that you will find people who are more extreme. So it was philosophy and literature, etc. But now it's shifting also to the sciences. And that's challenging. Because if you are boycotted by the Department of Comparative Literature somewhere, I'm sorry, I don't want to offend any person dealing with that, but it's not really important, okay? Or the importance is, I would say, is less than when we speak about physics or mathematics or chemistry, etc. And now it's moving to those fields, and that's a problem. That's challenging. And I think that our enemies realize that, and this is what they are trying to do. They are trying to hurt us in the exact sciences. And indeed, we have seen that in some universities, we have seen that in some institutions, and we are focusing on those issues. Now, when you take the Weizmann Institute, and I think it's a good example. Look, I don't know if you saw it was published a month ago. There is a listing of the best research institutes in the world, and the Weizmann Institute is number 5 or number 6. So you have like 4 or 5 American research institutes, like MIT, Caltech, etc. And then you have the Weizmann Institute. And I think that no one dares to do anything against Weizmann because it is so strong and so good. And it's really an example of world excellence. But still, we see in other universities that there are attempts to boycott also in the exact sciences. And this is something that we need to fight against. Now, one of the perspectives now, or one of the strategies that we are looking at, is as follows. If we have problems in some West European countries, then maybe we should start realizing that the world is a little bit bigger than we thought, that the world is not only North America and Western Europe, and maybe we should start looking elsewhere and building new alliances and new cooperations with universities in other countries, and they will replace very well those universities who want to boycott us. I'm thinking about Eastern Europe, I'm thinking about India, about Japan, about South Korea, other places as well. So this is one of the things that we are doing. We are also shifting our attention to new places, to rising academic institutions in countries that we did not think of previously.
I was maybe I'm naive and asking like a like a child now, but I'm sure they are using also now while boycotting us knowledge that they got from Israelis.
The phone.
It's so it's a kind of hypocrisy.
Of course.
Well, it's much more than that. You know, I wish it was only hypocrisy. Of course, it's hypocrisy, by the way, because they use and they will use. And you know, look at the Spanish government. So the Spanish government decided to boycott Israel, and at a certain moment, they realized that they need Israeli technology for security-related production. So suddenly, they changed their decision. They will boycott Israel, but not on security-related issues. So it's hypocrisy, but it's much more than that. We have had cases of theft of intellectual property.
Wow.
You know, we have had situations in which let's say there is a consortium of different researchers from different countries, including an Israeli researcher, and the Israeli researcher brings a lot of information to the table, which they did not have before. And at a certain moment, the European researchers say, we are sorry, we cannot work with you because our universities decided to boycott Israeli universities. But without any shame, they will use, and illegally, without asking permission, they will use the information that they received from the Israeli researcher. And we are, by the way, we are studying the possibility of taking those universities to court because they are thieves.
Yeah,
they
this is what I wanted to ask. What can you do about
intellectual property is not something you can just...
Yeah, they are stealing, they are thieves. They are stealing property which does not belong to them. So we are still looking at it because, unfortunately, some of the European courts, certainly in countries such as Belgium, are no longer objective. Look at what happened in Belgium with this guy who said, you know the details more than me, but there is, I think, a humorist who said that he wants to stab.
It's journalist.
Oh, no, it's a journalist. It's not even a
humorist.
Yeah. Catastrophe.
Yeah, and look what happened. He was acquitted. He was not indicted by the court.
Yeah.
Right. So can you trust a Belgian court? I don't know.
If I may intervene in that, I think it's really not only Belgium. If you look at France, most acts of whatever aggression, anything that's anti-Semitic in France is not recognized as so. And that's the issue, I think, also in the ULB. There was a student that got attacked because he was Jewish, but it was just recognized as an attack and not an anti-Semitic attack. So it's also...
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm truly not surprised. So and so this goes very far. This goes very far. This is reminiscent. When you look a little bit at history books and what happened to Jewish professors in Nazi Germany in the early 30s, it's exactly the same. It's shaming, it's isolation, it's using the information without giving credit, it's etc. etc. It's not, frankly, it's not surprising.
Going back to what you said earlier about, you gave the example of Spain, that boycott, except from your side, do you say sometimes, no, we don't work with you, or you prefer not to escalate the situation?
Well, look, I'm a diplomat, so usually I try to look at how to build something rather than how to destroy. And this is also the state of mind of our universities. So we look at the future. We don't want, we could very well tell those people, it's not our problem, you don't deserve any help, etc. But I think that it's useless and it's pointless. At the end of the day, what we would like to see is a return to normal relations. Even with the bad guys, even with boycotting universities. At the end of the day, it's more important, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, because we could walk around with a list of boycotting universities and say we will never talk to you again, blah blah blah. But I think that it's useless.
So, what kind of arguments do you use to convince them, the foreign institution, to continue and to find a way to have a dialogue despite all the tension?
Well, there are many arguments that we use. I think that because we are right, so it's not that complicated to explain. First of all, that their decisions are often based on lies. They will take a decision, and we saw it also in Belgian universities. They say we boycott the Israeli universities because the Israeli universities practice apartheid, which is, sorry to say so, but this is bullshit.
Absolutely.
Of course, exactly. Or the Israeli universities participate in a genocide, etc., etc. So that they have their facts absolutely wrong. And we demonstrate, we tell them, look, you are absolutely wrong. You have been induced in error by people with bad intentions. Come and see, talk to us, and you will see that the reality is totally different. What we are trying to organize are delegations from different European countries to visit Israel. We tell them, okay, you don't have to agree with each and every aspect of the Israeli policies. That's quite all right. By the way, we don't, even in Israel itself. And not everybody agrees with the policies of the government. So but why don't you come over and look for yourself, and you will understand that the reality has nothing to do with what you think. Of course, when it comes, that's one part of it, one aspect of it, but there is also a whole legal aspect, because discrimination is forbidden by European laws. It's illegal to discriminate. More often than not, the universities understand that this is why, by the way, they say, yeah, we recognize you as individual researchers, but not the universities, because it's a kind of a way of avoiding being indicted for discrimination. But they walk a very, very thin line. And at the end of the day, I think that they will have to realize that any kind of boycott is illegal, and that we could go to court over over issues such as that. In Spain, by the way, pro-Israel lawyers in Spain have taken a couple of universities to court and have won, because the discrimination was clear and obvious. But the point is not only to be right. You have to be smart. And being smart means that it's not always good to go to fight against universities. It's better to find a way around the problem and to bring them back to a form of dialogue with us. At the end of the day, this is what we want. We don't want to win. We want to go back to normal relations as we used to have before.
Who support you in Israel?
Sorry?
Who
Who
supports
supports you in Israel?
Well, first of all, it's all the Israeli universities. And that's quite a big power. That's quite a lot. And that's the most important. I mean, this is the support that we need. We are not always supported by the Israeli government, unfortunately, because the Israeli government tends to consider the universities as having an anti-government perspective. So they are quite aggressive towards us. But if you put the government aside, I think that we have quite a large support. And for the moment, as I told you, since there hasn't been really a bad or a dramatic damage to Israeli universities, I think that we can continue this way and hope that the situation will change for the better.
Okay, and I want to go back a little bit to the delegations that you mentioned, because we know that there's several organizations that are trying to bring people to Israel in a lot of different fields to actually see for themselves. I'm part of a few of those. And actually, how do you reach out, and how I'm assuming here a few things, you need to tell me if it's true or not, but I'm assuming that when they are first invited to these types of delegations, the reflex feeling might be, well, they're trying to pay my opinion, or, things like that, or an automatic rejection of not going, for example. So how does it work really for the delegations? Do you work with certain other organizations or institutions in Europe to make those bridges, to build those bridges?
Well, I think that the important distinction to make is between delegations which are sponsored by the Israeli government and those which are not. Because obviously, if it's something which is sponsored or at the initiative of the Israeli government, then universities will not want to participate. Mm-hmm. And I perfectly understand that. Yes. If I was a foreign university, I wouldn't want a foreign government inviting me for a kind of a propaganda tour. So this is why we come with those initiatives usually on our own or with civil society, with Jewish organizations, European and American organizations. You have the ADL, AJC. In Europe also you have various organizations, and they are not connected to the Israeli government, and I think that it gives them more authenticity when they invite, because it's clear that it's not a government invitation. That's the major distinction that I would make. Now, people will come. Now they cannot come, unfortunately, because we are at war, and it's a bit challenging. But hopefully, they will be able to come and see the reality for themselves and reach their own conclusions. I'm not in favor of telling people what to say and what to think. I'm very happy when people reach their own conclusions. And this is exactly what we have been trying to do. We have had a very good delegation from the Netherlands. We have had a good delegation from France, etc., etc. So there are many delegations coming here, and the results are positive. And in those delegations, it's not only friends of Israel or Jewish persons. It's also people who simply want to see exactly what is happening here in Israel.
Very interesting.
We are about to end, but looking ahead, how do you see the situation, the academic boycott evolving?
The future
in the coming years?
Well, I think that it depends. It depends on things which are not really under our control. Okay, it depends on the political evolutions in Israel, on political evolutions in Europe, in the United States. So it's a bit too early to say, but I would say that in a positive scenario, we will see the end of the war. Yes, the end of the war in Gaza. Perhaps new perspectives for the Middle East. A process of recognition of Israel by more and more countries in the region. A process of normalization. And this automatically will bring about a reduction of the boycott movement. Now, there will always be those who will boycott Israel because they hate us. But there is a difference between a small minority boycotting us and a large number of people. If we can reduce the boycotters to a very, very small number, then I think that we will be okay.
And that's what you pray for, or you actually think it's going to happen?
This is what, this is what, this is, you know, this is
what, bit, you know.
Yeah, this is what I hope for. Now, I'm, as I told you, this is my job. I'm in charge of combating academic boycott, and the day I will be out of work will be a very happy day for me.
Amen. Then.
So, yeah, we don't want you to be out of work, but but we really do hope that we see better days to everyone, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Amen, amen, amen.
Emmanuel, thank you very, very much. Toda rabba that you joined us today. It was very interesting.
Toda rabba.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
And thank you everyone for listening to us, and we wish you all the best. Peace, Bezrat Hashem, and love.
Well, whatever day it is going to be. Thursday evening. Have a good Thursday evening, people.
Yalla, bye.
Bye. זהו.
אוקיי?
חיכינו לך, שלום.
חיכינו שתגיד.
וואו, תודה רבה. היה ממש מעניין.
מאוד.
מאוד מעניין. משנה לנו. בוא.